to News Channel 3214. On today's special Security Insights, we are going to discuss on 3 matters. So for today, we'll be discussing on 3 matters. First, the COVID-19 change to our security dimension, approach towards this pandemic, and finally, how state can protect themselves from it. Special guest for today, we have Professor Valerie and Professor Adam from the Institute of Security and National Defense. Hello, Professor. So I hope that you are safe, and thank you for attending this discussion here with us. Professor, somehow as an expert in the national security field, would you care to explain on how these actually non-traditional security threats, speaking of the pandemic, affect national security?
Hello Adam, thank you for having me in your show. I am safe and currently stay at home. That's a good question right there. Well, you see, coronavirus does not care about the international borders because they can go freely without we even realizing. They don't need passport like us. And what made the virus spreads quickly is the human-to-human physical contact. For example, like through physical touch, and the virus itself cannot be seen with naked eyes, which is why it is known as non-traditional threat, especially to human security. The coronavirus itself caused more deaths than World War II, without even dropping any weapons. And aside that, 1% infected will affect every aspect, which creates the domino effects. Like the domino effects, where one person has contacted the virus and that one particular person goes to many places within a week. So what it does, basically, they spread the virus at a very wide scale. Right after the person had contact with many people, as we see, you will get the side effects. And if you are lucky enough, you will get the minimum side effects. But if you have weak immune system with health condition, especially breathing problems, it would definitely lead to mortality. Now from that, number of those who is infected increase to the point that our healthcare system have to keep up with the number of affected, and this will lead to healthcare system fall. And when healthcare system fall, they have to choose who gets to live and who has to die due to short of medical supplies such as ventilators and the intensive care units, ICUs. This is exactly what happened to Italy. From health perspective, we are not fully prepared for this pandemic. Hence, the increasing number of those affected. On economy aspect, this will continue where the people will get affected and they might lose their job, or they might have to leave without pay from their job. And due to that, the company might have either have major loss, or they might have to close down their company and premises due to short of manpower. So, for this pandemic, we can see that the state struggled to cope by itself, and the only choice to decrease this is through states' cooperation. What do you think, Professor Adam?
Not only on the aspect of health dimension, and this unseen threat has led to 2.15 million deaths in the span of a year. So why do I personally think that it requires a collective approach? It's because the state itself is inadequate of information and expertise against this virus. So it cannot be based on the sole idea on the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648 anymore, because this affects more than the sovereign of the state. So it cannot be discussed through a realist lens. But for this, In particular, a liberalist lens would provide a light at the end of the tunnel. So states must be willing to share and engage both bilaterally and multilaterally, because none of the state has endured an unprecedented threat without having no vaccine available and no method to cope with this issue. Therefore, again, this emphasizes the role of the state to engage with other states. So according to Barry Buzan, at the moment, there are no existing great power. Therefore, the power system in the international community is very fragmented and not like during the Cold War, which it was a bipolar war. Hence, that being said, there are no great power to manage the system. So it requires a more one-to-one approach by the state. And failure to acknowledge this issue would provide a detrimental effect to the state's security and economy. So America is a perfect example for this. Despite there is an absence of great power to lead and manage the system, America still does have an influence towards the world, and downplaying this pandemic at the beginning has led to an irreversible consequences on the terms of health security. So with this collective approach, states will learn to emulate practices and approaches to manage this virus. So this is not the first non-traditional threat faced by the international community. They have endured from SARS, MERS, but they have not learned their lessons on what is crucial to actually resolve this issue. Actually concludes why it is actually crucial for the states to cooperate on this. I would like to address this question to the two professors. What do you think that the state can actually do to prevent such crises from actually occurring again?
In my opinion, the leadership plays an important role in order to combat the pandemic.
Since you mentioned about leadership role, why does it actually play a dominant role in this issue?
Indirectly, yes. Leadership that is honorable and can actually lead can be a great example for their people. We can take an example from the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda herself, who acknowledged that the virus is real and even asked their people to stay at home. And if you're looking for a bad example, look how the President of United States of America, Donald Trump, who said that the virus it's a hoax and he doesn't believe the science. And the worst thing is, his followers actually believe him and follow what he says. This is why the leadership role is really important.
And alright, thank you very much, Professor Valerie, for expressing your concerns for the future of the international community.
How about you, Professor Adam? What is your projection of the future of the international community towards this threat, this coronavirus threat?
In way forward, I think this pandemic is a wake-up call for the state to realize the importance of collective approach. Not only the issue of pandemic, but this includes other non-traditional security threats. When the state saw the rise in COVID-19 cases in each country, it has shown that this globalized world we live in right now is extremely vulnerable towards transnational diseases. Other than that, it provides the state for closer attention and details. However, even with the presence of multilateral cooperation, it does not ensure a permanent stop to this, because providing short-term relief does not actually solve this matter. The impact of this pandemic is to be felt for years to come. We provided a short-term relief solution because it takes a while for the solution to be successful. With the collective approach, the international community at the moment can only limit or decrease any further damage from happening. Finally, on the note of great power, we hope that Biden finally, we hope that newly elected President of the United States, Joe Biden, can bring peace and global order for the international community. But it will need more than his executive order to undo the impact of COVID-19. And this is a reminder for states to take note on these black swan events that have severe consequences as compared to traditional security threats. And that is all for me. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Alright, we would like to thank both of Professor Valerie and Professor Adam for providing us with insights and knowledge of this threat. However, due to the limited time that we have, that would be all for today, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.